I've read something this week, and I'm not really sure if you guys read it as well, but I've been enjoying the freedom that we've been having over these last number of weeks to be here and not like people can choose whether or not they want to wear a mask. And I love the fact that there's no judgment. There's no judgment here. We accept you. That's fine. And I want that to continue. That every person can come here and feel that sort of acceptance here. And I was listening on the news just about, some of the numbers getting up again. I'm like, oh, here we go. And then I got slammed with this phrase that I just have to confess to you. They said that we may need to brace ourselves, catch this, for the sixth wave. And I was like, did I sleep in for the fifth? Am I alone here? I remember the fourth wave. I don't remember anything about a fifth wave. Apparently, I don't know, apparently there's a fifth wave, or they're just fed up and they're just trying to get up with like their jumping numbers, you know what I mean? It's just like, they probably try, it's like at the butcher, number 5, no, okay, number 6, they just kind of jump it right there. But I think I was sleeping at that, but I'll be honest, it seems as though like all of these waves are just blurring together. It's just like, I kind of remember a second wave, third, fourth. I don't even know when the fourth wave was. It Christmas? I don't know. I just kind of like lost track. It's just this one big blur. But they tell us, don't worry, this is going to end. Things are going to go back to normal. Oh my goodness. I was just like, and you've been hiding that you guys lie. Like all these years, like you try to hide that. There's no way it's going to go back to normal. There's absolutely no way. And they say, well, when, Craig? When though? Like when is it going to go back? When is it going to be fine? And then they'll just be like, just wait and you'll see. Just wait. It'll come. It's going. Okay, can I just tell you? I am sick and tired of waiting to the end. How many people are with me? Just want to don't raise your hand and wave it because we don't want to wave COVID around. But you know what I mean? Just like I am like I can receive that word. Like I am just sick and tired of this. It's end. When will it ever end? And it's like, oh, we got this window of hope. They're saying, this window of hope. Like I don't want a window. I want a field. Like I want like a future of hope and that. And but I did the math because I like doing stuff like that. And I don't know if anybody knew this, but it was only going to take 2 years or 2 weeks to flatten the curve. It's 2 years, right? 2 weeks to flatten the curve. I did the math. There's been 53 2 weeks since everything happened. Like, I don't know, like maybe they're like, now I know why they're like thinking it's a sixth wave. They don't even know numbers. They're just throwing anything out. Like they're just making things up and just throwing any, and hopefully something will stick there, right? And I remember Carrie, when everything kind of went shut down and no one was allowed to go to work and everything, and Carrie said, Craig, we're going to leave our Christmas tree lights on. Now we're in Ontario. It's not as beautiful as it is here in March, but we were in Ontario at the time, and so we still had the Christmas tree lights up because if I had gone up onto the roof, it would have activated the funeral plans. But so I just didn't. I was waiting, and so we left our Christmas tree lights on for like every night for the first 2 weeks, and then that third week when they said, "Oh, it's going to be 2 more," I was like, okay, this is starting to cost me hydro. I'm not liking this. And just imagine now if we had said, no, we're going to leave these lights because, we want to have a light showing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Man, it seems like it's been so long. Yeah, I'll tell you, there's no idea, and no one knows really when this is going to end. Well, God knows. God knows when it's going to end, but that's it. I don't know. You don't know. Maybe you know. I don't know. But the scientists don't know. They can't even compare with one another. They don't even have the same stories. The government, they don't know. And you could just put a big period right there. They don't know. Okay, but it was like the government there. But now they're saying that this pandemic is moving into this endemic stage, which means it's just going to have to be something, friends, that we're just going to have to live with. We're going to just have to live with the fact that we have COVID here in the world. Well, let me tell you what happens when that happens. we start doubting. We start doubting. We start saying, really? Is it just going to be something that we're always going to have? Because it didn't start that way at the beginning when COVID was like going rampant. Because like, I remember like when we canceled our vacation because there was 2,000 cases in Spain of COVID. 2,000 whopping cases over the whole island. And now, like, we're getting like how many thousands a day just in Canada, right? So that's where it's gone to. But I remember like just wait and see. It's going to end. There won't be a problem. Just wait. But then after a while, you go like, how long is it going to be that I'm starting to feel dumb? Like all of this time, we're kind of, now so I know right now, like I'm just kind of panning this room and just kind of looking at some of your faces, and some of you right now are saying like, I couldn't be more depressed with this message. It's just like, I came here for an encouraging word, and I just feel like crawling underneath this pew and just like, staying there until like, Jesus comes. And just like, I just, it's horrible what's happening. And like, that's the thing. But it didn't start that because like, we keep thinking that it's going to get better, but then, oh no, things get pulled back and you just kind of feel foolish. But don't worry, it's going to end. It's going to end. So, what do you do so you don't feel foolish? You just stop talking about it. COVID used to be on everybody's conversation. And I will say, in a good way, we're not probably talking about COVID as much as we used to, but it's not so much that we're just not wanting to talk about COVID as much as we're just done with COVID. We just start saying, I don't think we're ever going to get out of this thing. So we just stop talking about it. We stop looking at the numbers. I want to tell you that every day, I'll read the thing and it will say, well, BC counted numbers and I'm not even listening anymore because they've told us don't even get tested anymore. It's like so the numbers don't even mean anything, and maybe they don't mean anything to you anymore. And believe me, this is not some political thing about COVID or anything like that. Believe me, I still believe in God's word. I'm not saying okay, we're gonna look at the second book of Health Canada. That's not what we're talking about here. But it's just like, well, if we're waiting for the 6th wave, what about the 7th wave? Or like the 70th wave? And I want to be honest here that as Christians, as followers of Christ, where do we land in this? Where do we land in this idea of something like this? Like, is it just going to be with us all the time? Like, I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Just wait and see what happens with the whole thing. Here's the scary thing. We have been dealing with COVID for 2 years. Yet, we have a faith that has been waiting 2,000 years for the end. We've been waiting 1,000 times more. Put that in your calculator in your mind. We have been waiting 1,000 times longer than we've been waiting on COVID to end for our belief of what will happen to come to pass. For this idea that 2,000 years ago, these people had been waiting just like that. They had a different kind of COVID. It was called a Roman oppression. They had the Roman Empire keeping the Jews at bay. They kept persecuting them. They kept beating them. They were killing them. There was all these things taking place 2,000 years ago. And Jesus, our deliverer, we talked about earlier, they were waiting for a deliverer. Do you know how many people at that time were named Jesus? There was a lot of Jesuses out there at the time because there were so many people waiting. Maybe my son is the deliverer. Maybe my son is the deliverer. Everyone was waiting for the end. Jesus comes, our Jesus, Son of Mary, Son of the living God, comes on the scene. And then finally, hallelujah, the light at the end of the tunnel. He didn't say just 2 more weeks. He didn't say, I'm going to be with you for 3.5 years. He didn't predict that and tell them that ahead of time. But the disciples, all of these disciples, recognized finally the end is coming. all of a sudden they're going to lift all the measures. The Romans are no longer going to be in charge. We're going to be able to walk without these political masks over our mouths, like we couldn't say anything against the Romans. Finally we're here. And then we find ourselves in Mark chapter 13. Mark chapter 13, the last passage that I want to look at in this message here, verses 32 to 37. See, over 3.5 years, this is right before Jesus is going to be betrayed, crucified, and rise again. And he's with his disciples, and for 3.5 years, they had been wanting Jesus to finally set deliverance upon the Roman oppressors. They wanted Jesus. That's why on Palm Sunday, they ushered Jesus in. They're like, blessed be the name of the Lord. The Messiah has come. There was this excitement in the air. We could talk about it some other time, but I believe that Peter was frustrated in the garden because he believed that this is the time. He took out that sword because like, here we go, Jack. We're going. There was no person named Jack at the time, but still, he's like, Jack, and everyone said, who's Jack? But he's like, we're going to do this. We are going to take this by force. That's why we even see that the things are all set up where Jesus is going to finally deliver everybody. And so he says in verse 32, now concerning that day or hour, no one knows, neither the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Watch, be alert, for you don't know when the time is coming. It's like a man on a journey. See, Jesus loved to tell parables. Who left his house, gave authority to his servants, gave each one his work, and commanded the doorkeeper to be alert. Therefore, be alert. You're a doorkeeper, friends. You are a doorkeeper. I wish I could. Okay, I don't have time. Therefore, be alert, since you don't know when the master of the house is coming, whether in the evening or at midnight or at the crowing of the rooster or early in the morning. Otherwise, when he comes, suddenly you may find yourself sleeping. And what I say to you, I say to everyone, including everyone today. Jesus says, be alert. I want to be very, very clear today. Jesus is coming back. There is no question about it. If we want to declare that Jesus Christ is the living Word, if we want to declare that we believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, if we want to dare say that Jesus Christ is the fulfillment of prophecy, which I could do it. I think I've already shared it one other time. But when you look at the odds of all of the prophecies that Jesus fulfilled, that it says that there are not enough atoms in the universe to be able to be the 1-2 blank odds of Jesus fulfilling all of those prophecies. If we believe that as our faith, then I want you to tell you something. There are prophecies yet to be fulfilled, and some of those have to do with the fact that Jesus Christ is coming back. He is coming back. Whether you want to believe it, whether you've heard it for 1 year, 2 years, just wait 2 more weeks. It doesn't matter how many extensions you've had to place on your faith. The truth is that even though it's been 2,000 years later, the truth is still there, and that is Jesus Christ is still coming back. But I'm going to be honest. We could be in this church service right now and sense in our hearts, yes, Jesus, you're coming back. You're going to deliver us. You're going to rescue us. But then are we going to have that same fervor 2 hours from now or 2 days from now or 2 weeks an extension or 2 months or 2 years? Or maybe 20 years. I don't know how long you've been in the faith. I don't want to jump it. I don't think anybody here is 200 years, but still, like it's been something that we've been waiting for. But I look at it this way. Some people would say, you know what? Well, if Jesus hasn't come back in 2,000 years, he's not coming back. Well, I have a very, very easy answer for that, and it's this, is I thank God that Jesus has waited 2,000 years to come back, because then my 2 grandchildren can come to heaven. My 2 grandchildren, my kids can know Jesus. And you know what? Every child that's born, that's another day of grace. That God has extended grace and favor to wait for that day that he is coming back. And so I want to say, I'm thankful. Yeah. Do I want him to come in the middle of my sermon? Absolutely. Because then you guys won't leave here and judge whether it was a good one or not. You know? It's great. It'll just we can just take off and, go up there and find out that, we can have all the fried chicken we want, no calories. It'll be great. It'll be awesome. It's going to be fantastic up there. I'll leave that alone on that. But here, it takes a lot out of you, because as time goes on, it kind of makes us forget. And it can make us give up a little bit of hope. And when we give up hope, we get a little sloppy. We can get a little lazy. We can even get a little forgetful. There's something that my kids did growing up. And part of me, it's kind of like throwing them under the bus, which is great because they're not here, so I can. It's awesome. It's good that way. But they did something when they were growing up, when Carrie and I were parenting them, and so I've never told them this, but Carrie and I used to always make fun of them for doing it. But the reason why I believe they do it is because they inherited it from their dad. And that was when Carrie and I would either have enough money to pay for a babysitter, or, God love it, the fact that Adam was old enough to take care of Tristan. Not mature enough, but old enough, like that way the police wouldn't come. But certainly not mature enough. But it's still, we would go out for a night, and it would probably be 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. And we'd get a phone call, and we're thinking the house is burning down. And it'd be my daughter. And she would say, just wondering when you're coming home. And we'd say, well, we're not even there yet for the date. If you look outside the window, we're still in the driveway. But we'll be home soon. Maybe by the time we order an appetizer, phone rings again. When are you coming home? By the end of the evening, I would say probably 3-4 times we've got a phone call. Now it's our son. Because, as I said, he's ill-prepared. He doesn't know what to do. So they, I could tell stories, but I won't. And so now it's crazy. It's just mayhem. Carrie and I have, salvaged what joyous night we had, not thinking about the kids who kept calling. And so we managed to get home. And I want to say this, that they inherited from their dad, because I never really wanted to know when my parents were home, because I was afraid to be home alone. I just needed to know when I had to start cleaning up. I passed it off. Now, back when I was a kid, you asked that question before they left, because you'd never be able to get through. You didn't even know what restaurant they're going to. There's no such thing as a cell phone. You could put up some sort of plane could bring a banner across, but it wouldn't matter. But it's just I knew. So I had to ask before, what time do you guys think you'd be home? Because then I had to, as I was making more and more messes, I had to kind of gauge how, is this a 5-minute cleanup? Is this a 10-minute cleanup? And what really messed you up is when the parents came home early. That was I was not ready for that. They'd come home and it's just a mess. I'm right? And I just didn't even know what to do. And I'm sure none of you ever had those experiences. So I just felt it was important for me to share it with you, and that you could all judge me for having that, because you never did that yourself. But I kind of wonder if that's why we ask God when he's coming back. Not because we miss him, but we want a heads up. We want a heads up because we want to continue to be sloppy and lazy and forgetful and not really concern ourselves with it, because we just think, you know what, as long as you give me enough time, Jesus, then I can get everything together. I can ask for forgiveness. I can clean up my act. Just Jesus, just give me enough head time, just like a heads up time on that. That's why I believe that Jesus says to the disciples, he says, watch and be alert. Watch, and I want to say something. That word watch isn't meaning to look for something. Jesus wasn't saying, look for me coming. That's not the word. It's not to look for something. It's to look at something. It's not to look for something that's not there. Jesus was using the word that means keep your eyes fixed on what already is happening. You do not need to go down the rabbit trail, folks, very, very far to see all of the things that are happening around the world that are lining up to everything you read in Daniel, everything you read in Revelation, everything you read in Matthew, that Jesus has predicted, that the prophets have predicted. You just go down that rabbit trail, and friends, I'll tell you, you will know that you need to get your spiritual bags packed because Jesus is coming any moment. Any single moment. Rumors of wars, we're hearing all these things that are true or not true happening over in Europe. There are rumors and there are wars. There are tons of things happening around the world right now, setting us up for this. And so he says, keep an eye on the things that are happening, but also be alert. Stay awake. Keep watching. Keep waiting. Well, he doesn't end there. He actually tells these disciples, so while you're doing that, do these two things. I want us to circle back on that. Verse 34, it says this: it is like a man on a journey who left his house. Just leave the words right there, but I just want to say this. It's a parable. Think about it. Who's the man on the journey? It's Jesus. And he's still on his journey. He's still on his journey. You look at John chapter 14, what does he say? He says, I am leaving this place, and I'm going to prepare a place for you. And all I have to say is this: if it took God just a smidgen of a week to make the whole entire universe, and he's waiting 2,000 years on heaven, it's going to be pretty epic. That's all I have to say. It's going to be epic up there, and I know I'm excited because the Patriots are going to be up there. I know it. It's going to be fantastic. We'll have the Vancouver Canucks. Hallelujah. They're going to make it by the skin of their teeth. But anyways, it's still good. It's still good. It's great. And, whether the Maple Leafs are there, I don't know. There is a thing. Some people believe in purgatory. But anyways, but still, it's like, I can't wait for that day. But he's still on the journey, folks. He's still on the journey, and it says this. It says that when who left his house, it says, gave authority to his servants, gave each one his work, and commanded the doorkeeper to be alert. Can I just close this series by just sharing with you two things that Jesus told his disciples that he knew he was leaving, but he knew that he was leaving for an extended period of time. And so in this parable, he says the first thing is that he did is that he gave you authority. If you want to take notes, you want to write that down. He gave you authority. He gave me authority. He gave you. It actually means literally that he gave a delegated empowerment. Think about that. It meant that he gave you an empowerment and you an empowerment. He didn't give it to the church. It's a delegated, specific empowerment to each and every one of us. It has been delegated to us. That authority he has left, and he's left it to us. It's almost as if we have been given God's signet ring. It's like he has given us that ring. We have the authority. Now, some of you are saying, I'm not too sure about that. We really have the same authority that Jesus had? Well, I don't know. I'm just looking at what Matthew 16, verse 19 says. It says, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatever you bind on earth will have been bound in heaven. And whatever you loose on earth have been loosened in heaven. And I just want to say this, is that there are times that I pray for people and they don't get healed and they don't receive exactly what I'm praying that they receive. But I'm telling you, there are other times when they do get healed and there's other times that they do receive. And so why would I listen to the times that he hasn't come through and listen to the times that he has come through and keep on going strong? That's the authority you have. You have that same authority. I'm believing for you, Mark. I'm believing for healing over your body. I'm believing. And I'm standing just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And I'm standing there and I'm saying, you know what? It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. It's up to God to step in. But even still, I'm not going to stop praising him because he's going to do it. And you're just one story of every person in this room. You've got issues, you've got troubles, you've got struggles, and you know people with it. And stop believing that God is going to move. I'm going to say that double negative again so that you can kind of wake up. Stop believing. We need to believe again that God has given us the authority. Because I'm telling you, it's not that we're going to convince God to give it to us. God's going to finally say, oh, you're activating what I left you 2,000 years ago. It's already been given to us. But you know what? It's not just authority. It'd be great if God gave me authority. Oh, that'd be awesome. Because the Patriots would win every year. So would the Canucks. It'd be awesome. I may even toss Seattle Mariners a bone every once in a while. It'd be great if I had God's authority and could just do whatever I want. And that would be awesome. But even though God has given us his authority, he hasn't given us the Father's purpose. He hasn't given us everything that God knows and understands about the future. He's actually given me a specific work. I'm standing here right now in obedience to God's working in my life and stirring me to share this with you. But just as much as he's given me a work, and I mean this, just as much, he's given you a work. He has actually given each and every one of you an individual work. It, in the Greek, says that the man left each person in charge of their own work. I want to ask you today, are you still asking Jesus, when are you coming home? When are you coming back? Can you let me know? Can you give me a heads up? When are you coming back, Jesus? See, the pandemic that we've gone through, whether it's an endemic, pandemic, LMNOP-demic, whatever they're going to call it, all it did was expose something in us. We just want the end so that we can move on. We just want things to end so that we can. See, something that's happened with COVID is we want it to end because we want the benefits of it ending without recognizing that maybe we have responsibility to help manage it. Maybe we individually all have our part to play to ensure that it does not overwhelm us. So really, even though we want something to finish, the truth is that each and every one of us probably have a part in playing with that finishing. And so I ask a very, very straightforward question. What if it's the same situation here? We want it to end. Even Jesus wanted it to end. Even Jesus says, I'm going back to prepare a place for you. But even the Son of God, relying on the Holy Spirit, said, it's not for me to know. The angels don't even know when it's going to happen. Only the Father knows. Could it be that the thing that we so very want to happen is somewhat in our hands to determine when it's going to take place? We can't make it happen. It's not like we're going to say, okay, X, Y, and Z, and then Jesus is like, okay, it's time to come. But isn't God waiting for a church without spot or wrinkle? Isn't God waiting for us to come to him? Isn't God waiting for the gospel to get to the ends of the earth? Isn't there a number of things? Yes, there's things in the world with like the abomination, the 7 bowls and the 7 seals and all the things you read in Revelation. But isn't it true that he said, I'm going to give you authority and I give you responsibility, and then the time will be fulfilled. He's kind of waiting on us. Now, for some of you right now, you may be going, I don't know what the message title is right now. You've still not told me the message title. You're trying to write your notes. I've been saying it all message long. Wait and see. Wait and see. Friends, I think that we need to recognize that God has given us the authority. God has given us the opportunity to step into his will and to see him do the work through us, in us, through us, and affect those around us. So I'm going to ask everybody to stand with me right now. I want to pray for you, and then as a worship team, we're going to lead in singing and respond to this. But I want to pray for each and every one of you right now. It's not going to raise our hands. I want us as a church, as First Ave, I want to commission you by reminding you today what God said through Jesus, his son, to the disciples, where the Father said to them, that I have given you authority. I have given you the authority already. And each of you have a place and a part to play. And you yourself know what that is. So you do your part, I'll do my part. Let's watch, let's keep our eyes on everything, and let's see the glory of God.